Shooters, how you doing? George here at DMZ Tactical. I want to take a quick few minutes to talk about different skill sets in your toolbox of defensive tactics. Too many people out there, and I got into this debate on a forum just yesterday, talking about different skill sets and how people teaching this skill set, they're frauds and they don't know anything about the industry, and it was about point shooting. And I chimed in, and I'll explain to you what it's about. A lot of different scenarios call for different skill sets. If you're taking 100-yard surgical shot to save a hostage, let's say with an AR or something like that, sniper rifle, there's different skill sets you will have to employ to make that happen. If you're at arm's length away from your threat, there's different skill sets that you'll need to survive that situation. And this is what a lot of instructors and what a lot of people think or don't think about. They get comfortable. They go out to the square range and they get comfortable up there, and now they're able to draw and present. They're able to pull that trigger. They're able to do a lot of things really quick and get on target, or maybe they go do some IDPA or IPSEC shooting or some gaming sport shooting, which I think it's good to help your skill set, but they get so comfortable in that, and now they make from marksman to sharpshooter to expert. Now they think they're that false sense of security that now I can do anything. I can save anyone's life. I'm a gunslinger, and I'm high speed, low drag. It's all fine and dandy till reality hits you. Just because you have a certain skill set you used for a gaming environment doesn't mean that's going to apply to you in the real world shit hits the fan situation. And this is where, the whole conversation about point shooting comes into play. I'll explain how I explain this in my advanced classes. Depending on your distance, it depends how much time you have to react to a threat or a situation. More distance is great. More distance is even better. If you're at arm's length away, the distance and time you have to react to whatever that threat is a lot shorter, so your skill set used for that has to be tuned to that speed and being able to identify it and react to it that much faster. You have to think about it this way. And when I talk about, when I teach my combat mindset type classes, I talk about, think of it this way. The body, the normal person, it takes some 0.25 seconds or a quarter of a second to know something's going on. To say, shit, this guy just pulled a gun out on me. Shit, this guy pulled a knife out on me. It takes you a quarter of a second to figure that's what's happening, for you to identify that. It takes you a quarter of a second to react. So it took me a quarter of a second, oh shit, this guy pulled a gun on me. It takes me another quarter second to reach for my gun, at least start working the process to reach for my gun and draw that gun out. Just because as he's pulling his gun out, I still haven't figured that out yet. My body and mind haven't done the math. They haven't done all the calculations to figure out, shit, I'm in danger. So as I'm figuring that out, half a second has gone by the time I get my hand on my handgun. Or if I'm drawing from concealment, I have to get rid of my concealment out. So, and then draw my gun out in a defensive, if that's what I'm going to do. But whatever reaction I'm going to do, I'm already half a second behind the curve line. That's what a lot of people don't understand. They think that just because I'm a fast shooter, I'm going to be on top of my ball game, I'm going to be able to react faster than this threat coming at me. And it's not reality. You always fall back to the type of training you're doing. And that's why in my combat mindset type classes, I talk a lot about the OODA loop and being able to orient yourself and observe, and your situational awareness to be able to, before stuff happens, start seeing for clues and start seeing for situations that can turn deadly or can turn bad and either excuse yourself from those situations or put yourself or orient yourself in a situation where if you need to decide and act, you're ready to go. That, again, is being proactive, not reactive. You have to understand when you're reactive, you're already behind of your attacker. So keep that in mind. But the whole premise of point shooting is at this distance, whether 3 yards, 2 yards, 1 yard, 3 feet, 7 feet, 9 feet, 10 feet, the time it takes for a threat to come at me is not a lot of time. It's literally under a second. And if you really think you have the time, I don't care how skilled of a shooter you are, if you really think you have the time to identify, react, draw, present, sight picture, sight alignment, get that perfect sight picture and squeeze that trigger and make that gun go off and start pouring lead down range to stop your attacker, you're highly mistaken. You live in a world of theory, not reality. That's where point shooting comes into play at these distances, and that's why when I teach my thumbs forward grip, I talk about indexing on the barrel. So 90% of my aiming is already there. 90% of my aiming is already there. If a threat is literally 3 feet away from me, there is no reason I need to come up and try to do a perfect sight picture, sight alignment to start blowing lead down range and creating some decompression in those pipes in them to stop whatever threat that is that I need to stop to save my life or my little guy's life. So that's where point shooting comes into play. That's that skill set at that situation. Does point shooting work if I'm 50 feet back and I need to engage on a threat? No. But that's the difference between knowing what you know and practicing it and applying these principles in training so you understand what capabilities each skill set gives you. When we get back to 5 to 7 yards, maybe even 10 yards, I still can't do point shooting at those levels. I'm probably gonna miss. Depending on my muscle memory, I can get pretty confident that I can hit. Under duress, I might miss a few times, but that's not the point. The point is use a different skill set. You don't need to take those chances. At this distance, 7 to 10 yards, I have enough time as that threat is coming to be able to at least to get what's called a flash or combat sight picture. What I mean by flash or combat sight picture is instead of getting that perfect sight picture, sight alignment, centered horizontally and vertically on your rear sight notch, that front sight post, all I worry about is that front sight post, my sight picture is that I see it somewhere in that rear sight notch. If it's anywhere in that rear sight notch, if I'm pointing dead center mass on the threat, I'm going to be able to hit an 8-inch or 10-inch combat effective zone. That's enough for me to start running lead down range and being combat effective and sort of putting a dent in the forward pressures or movements this threat is bringing to me. Yeah, the momentum is there, but I'd rather have someone that is pretty much dead, but just that momentum is coming at me with a knife, than someone still capable of swinging that arm with the knife and cutting me up like it's cool. So at this distance, my skill set is a flash sight picture. I know that I can be effective drawing that gun out and maybe taking an extra quarter of a second and driving that gun out and getting on target and making sure I get lead down range and making sure I create some kind of havoc and discontent in whatever threat is coming at me. Coming out to 20 yards, 25 yards, 30 yards, whatever the case may be, there is no way a flash sight picture would be able to get me on target and be effective. So at those distances, even at 15 yards, at those distances, I need to apply a different skill set. A different skill set being perfect sight picture, sight alignment. Getting back to the core fundamentals or initial teachings that we learn when running a handgun, that front sight post needs to be centered vertically and horizontally on that rear sight notch to be able to get on target, especially at a point of aim, point of impact of that distance. Those are the three different skill sets that I use and I teach for different scenarios. There is no one skill set that works for all of them, but the purpose of training and the purpose of learning new skill sets is to be able to understand where to apply them. And if you're not open-minded and you're a knucklehead and think, no, my way works. I went to a class where some high-speed, low-drag ninja taught me that I can do this and I can do that and only this works. Well, you don't have an open mind and you're probably going to get yourself hurt. Nothing works for every single situation. Anything you have in that toolbox of skill sets works. You wouldn't pull out a hammer to unscrew a screw. You wouldn't pull out vice grips to hammer a nail in. Yeah, it might work, but is it the ideal tool? And in a real life saving situation, do you really want to risk that you don't have the right skill set to survive that? The whole purpose is survivability. So why not have an open mind and understand the key fundamentals and the key issues that happen at each situation or most situations and be able to adapt and overcome. Adapting to your environment is really what keeps us alive. Through the years, the only people that have survived, or the only animals or species that have survived, are the ones that have been able to adapt to different environments. And that's the purpose of learning different point shooting, flash sight picture, combat sight picture, perfect sight picture, because different environments are and different situations create different skill sets. Don't get in the mindset that you think you know everything because you've taken a class and you've seen Joe Schmo who can pull out a handgun and shoot a failure drill in under half a second, and you think you're going to be able to perform at that level. Chances are you're not. Don't ever think you're going to rise to an occasion. You always fall back to whatever type of training you do. If you're shooting this wide in training at 3 yards, this combat effective zone in 3 yards, don't think for 1 second under duress because your little kid is being held hostage by someone that you're going to be able to pull out of your ass somewhere to be able to drive that gun and hit a group this big. It's just not going to happen. Too many people have that mindset that, I don't need to practice that good. If I'm this good when, if my kid's in a situation where I need to save them or my wife is, I will rise to that occasion and I am going to take that perfect shot and create and kill that threat so, my wife or my kid is alive. You will fail and you will fail miserably. Training at your level and those expectations are what you should expect in reality. Theory works good until reality comes and hits you in the ass. That's what life's all about. So that's basically what I wanted to talk about is point shooting. Again, arm's length away or pretty close. It's not the end all be all. Flash sight picture, 7 yards, 10 yards, maybe even 5, 6 yards. Getting comfortable and running that gun at those distances. The more you do it and the more you practice each scenario, the more it's going to become second nature. So if you ever have to react to a situation and drive that gun out, you're better able to, without even thinking about it, go into muscle memory and be able to engage with that level of skill set without you even thinking about it. And that's what's going to save your life. So I hope that was instructional and educational, and keep in mind this weekend we have the Chicago Gun Show, and I'm going to be doing a seminar on Saturday on combat mindset, surviving the gunfight. No, Sunday surviving the gunfight, and Saturday's combat mindset, the will to survive. There's a lot more involved in wanting to survive a situation than you think just pulling a handgun out and pulling the trigger. You have to be mentally capable of doing it, and most people aren't, and they've never asked themselves that question. Are they able to defend themselves in a real life shit hits the fan situation? So please come on out, Chicago Gun Show, look it up. It's this Saturday, January 26th, and then Sunday, January 27th. So I appreciate your time. I'll see you on the other side. Semper Fi.